you guys? It's Jerry here from Team Uncoordinated, and today I'm going to be making a short instructional video for a buddy of mine who needed some help getting one of his multi-track recorders, the functions and everything for it. So today I'm going to make a small tutorial, and I'm going to post it on our page. This is really something that's just mainly for Taco. So Taco, shout out to Taco and Corina, and if anybody else can get any kind of good info from it or whatever, you're more than welcome to share with other people. I did not see a lot of videos on YouTube about this particular machine, so it'd be cool to just in case anybody out there knows anybody that has this machine, or when people bring this up as far as a tutorial for this, now there will be a video for it. So with that, today's tutorial is going to be kind of a quick start on the D16 from Korg, and it looks a little bit something like that. Ooh, the D16. Okay, and so this is an old analog, recorder, and it does have virtual tracks and everything and all that good stuff on it. We're not going to be messing with any of that. For the most part, we're just going to be doing, like I said, a quick start in basically creating a song, naming a song, recording, playback, overdubbing, and getting into a little bit of like mixing and like effects and some stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm gonna keep this pretty basic because I'm making this video for somebody specific. So if any of you have any more questions as far as more in-depth stuff, whether it be for recording or for the Korg or anything in general that has to do with audio, you're more than happy to email me at teamuncoordinated@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to answer any of your guys' questions. You can find us all throughout Facebook and Instagram and stuff. Just look up Team Uncoordinated. The Korg D16 is an actual touchscreen. It's one of the very first generations of touchscreens that they started coming out with. And Korg was a big pioneer for that. So we're going to kind of jump into navigating the touchscreen, and then also to just navigating the actual function buttons that are set next to whatever you happen to be navigating to, whether it be your track or finding a drum beat or any of that kind of stuff. So the very first thing we're going to jump into, you guys, is functions.
Okay, you guys, so for the first part of the video, we're going to go over some of the functions, okay? So just down to the bottom right here, these little buttons, which are play, stop, rewind, fast forward, and record, we're going to call our playback and record console, okay? So whenever I refer to that, I'm talking to these buttons down here, which is play, stop, rewind, all of that good stuff. Right next to it, this little wheel guy, we're going to call our cursor. And the cursor allows us to navigate up and down on our display screen, depending on whatever we have, selected. Over here is going to be our mixing console, and that consists of our faders, which are our post-recording volumes. That's after we've already recorded something. Our trim knobs down here, which are going to be pre-recording. So these are what we're going to set the input level to be. And our track status buttons up at the top, okay? Over here we have our display screen buttons, and you've got this whole row, but we're only going to be using the top three and this bottom one, okay? So the top three are input, EQ phase, insert effect, and the meter/track view button down here. The last button that we're going to be using for this video is going to be the song button over here, and that allows us to always get back to our main page, which is that page right there, and that allows us to get to another song or a new song or edit a song or any kind of thing like that. So this is basically the main window that we're going to be using for this video. All right, so those are some of the basic settings for what we're going to be using in today's video.
Okay, so in this next section, we are going to be creating a new song. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure we're on our main display screen. So we're going to come over here to the song button, hit the song button, come back to our display screen, and we're back at our main display screen. So the first step we're going to take is go and hit the new button right there. The Korg D16 is all touchscreen, so you're able to touch it and it'll activate whatever you want it to do. This little menu is going to come up to ask what the bit rate is and how many tracks you want. For this video, just go 24-bit, 8 tracks. And then hit the OK, and you'll see a new song pops up right here called Song 8, or new song, song number 8, basically. In order to erase that song, let's say you don't want that song there,
you're going to go to this little menu down at the bottom here, and you're going to hit the edit song, and you're going to see that it says delete song. Now, when you first hit that edit song, it might not have that in the screen. It might have something else. So what I'm going to do is use my little cursor guy over here, this little wheel guy, and if I turn the cursor, you see it moves what is happening on that screen. And so those come in handy too if you want to copy your song, or you can protect the song so nobody can take it off here. For now, the function that we're going to be using is delete song. So once you hit the delete song button, go to this little guy that says execute right here and hit him, and it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to delete this? Yes, we are sure. And your song has now been deleted. And then you're going to go back down to your little menu and go to select song, and you're going to be back at song number 7, Team Unco. Okay, guys, so on the next section of this video, we're going to look at renaming our song and how to get from song to song, the previous song and the next song. So first things first, you're going to look at your display screen, and to the right hand side over here, you're going to see there's the two buttons. One's obviously says new for a new song. You're going to hit the rename, and this little screen is going to pop up. At the bottom down here, you got space, backspace, delete. Those are all pretty self-explanatory. If you hit delete, it's going to delete whatever characteristic you have highlighted. Right and left will allow you to go right and left to add or take away a characteristic or do whatever you want with it. And in order to change your characteristics, you're going to navigate over to your little cursor wheel, this little gray guy, and you're going to rotate it, and it will rotate what you are changing in your screen there. So if we were satisfied with our song being JU, we would say yes, that's what we want. You're going to go over to the OK button right here and push OK, and now you can see we've changed our song to JU. In order to get back to the previous song, so let's say we're on song 8 and we want to get back to song 7, what you're going to do is you're going to go down to your recording and playing back controller. In order to get to the previous song, you're going to hold down stop and push rewind. That will get you back to the previous song. As you can see, I'm on song 7 now. If I hold down stop and push fast forward, push it twice, it will get me back to song 8. It's loading, and now song 8 is in my mixing console. So if you hold down stop and push rewind, it will get you to the previous song. If you hold down stop and push fast forward, it'll get you to the next song. Load it into your mixing console, and you'll be able to listen to it and jam out and do whatever you want. So that's basically how you name your song and get from song to song.
Okay, guys, so now that we've gotten the first 3 things down, which was function, creating a new song, and naming a song, we're going to start to jump into how to activate a track, and let's start recording. So with this, you're going to kind of be using a combination of starting to use the touch screen and physical buttons on the board. So this one's going to be a little more kind of into how to work these things all together and start making beautiful music. All right, so let's jump into this next section, opening a track and recording.
Now that we've gotten to this point, let's go ahead and figure out how to put an input in. So there's a couple of things that we're going to do here. We're going to break this up into 2 different sections. We're going to go ahead and go with the recording section and input section. So let's work on how to get a signal in first. So first, what we're going to want to do is go to our input button over here and hit input. This little display is going to show up. We want to make sure whatever one of our tracks we're going to be recording on is highlighted with our shadowed box. So because we're going to be going to 1, we've got that there, so we're good to go. The next place we're going to go to is the bottom button down here that says meter track view, and it's going to bring us to this screen. This is going to allow us to see the signal coming into our Korg. Next, we're going to come to our track status here, and we are going to activate our track. Now, the track status button is broken down into 3 different colors: green, orange, and red, and then off. Green is to listen to your playback. So after we've recorded, we're going to put it into green, and we'll be able to hear it coming back through our speakers. Orange is to find your input. So we're going to be using this currently. And red is to record. Once yours off, that's just to mute that channel. If you've got some guitars here and you want them off, you're able to mute them but not have to turn your volumes down. So for now, we're finding our input, which is orange. Next, you want to go over to your trim knob here and make sure that we have a signal coming through now that we have our channel activated. So you can see the light is green there. So we do have a signal coming through. Next, you're going to go to your channel fader and you are going to turn it up to around a 5, maybe a little above a 5. Next, you're going to come over to your master fader and turn it up to about a 5 or so, and then listen to see if you have a signal coming through your speakers or headphones. You can obviously see we have contact. You can also see that we have it here on the display screen. So that is how you open a channel. Now let's go ahead and jump into how do we record. Okay, you guys, now that we figured out how to put our input signal into our channel, and now we've got signal coming through there, let's go ahead and figure out how we record. So again, you are going to come up to track status here, and instead of having it on orange, you are going to go ahead and now activate this track to red, which means that you are now ready to record. Then you're going to come over here to your play and record controller, and you're going to go ahead and hit record. Now, as you can see, the two lights are going to blink first before it goes into record. It's kind of like a standby. When you are ready to record, go ahead and hit your play button. You will see your time start to move up here and you're ready to go. And that is basically how you record on the Korg. Pretty simple. Go ahead and hit stop. And you'll see the two lights will turn off. And then you're ready for playback.
Okay, that part was pretty intense. I know there was a lot of stuff going on there as far as inputs and what sound is and all that. I think you guys will get it if you just keep watching the video and just kind of go back to the functions section and look at what functions do what. It'll eventually make sense, okay? So the next section that we're going to jump into is playback. How do I listen to now what I just recorded? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. You know, you're going to take that track now and activate it for your playback, and then you're just going to hit the play button, okay? So we're going to jump into a little section on playback, all right? Here we go.
Okay, so now that we've learned how to record something, let's go ahead and figure out how to do the playback. So in order to do playback, there's a couple of things we want to do first. When I play back, I usually like to turn whatever I just recorded all the way down and also turn my master fader all the way down. That way, when I hear the playback, it's not going to blow my speakers out and blow my ears out if I recorded it too loud. Secondly, we're going to come up to track status here, and we're going to take our track 1 out of record now, and we're going to go to green, which is our playback. Also, you can find all of this on a little menu that they've got right here that shows you what each one does, just in case you get confused. So now that we have this in playback, let's go ahead and hit the play button. As you can see, our time is running, and we're going to slowly just start bringing our volumes up here. And now you can see we can start hearing guitar. And you want it a little bit quiet. It's not always good to have your mixes super loud. You want to be able to hear it, not have to kill your ears. So that looks pretty good. We're able to get the playback and listen to what I just recorded. Again, in order to go back to the beginning of the song, if you hold down stop and press rewind at the same time, it will go back to the beginning of the song. So as you can see, I'm holding stop and going back, and it'll go back to the same song. Kind of the same function you would use to get from song to song if you were on your song page right here. But that same function kind of works for when we're rewinding and fast forwarding on our meter track page right here, okay? So again, we're listening to our playback. We can see it coming through our meter here. I can see it coming out of my main speakers here. So it looks like we got playback. It sounds all right. And now we're ready to go ahead and jump into overdubbing.
Okay, you guys, now that we've gotten this far, Everything else from here on out is pretty much just icing on the cake. I mean, that's pretty much the basic functions of this Korg and how to use it and kind of how to use it at the most general, settings, basically. So the next thing we're going to jump into is overdubbing. You've got that guitar line down and it sounds good. It's at a good volume where we want it. Let's go ahead and put something over it. Maybe we have a little lead line or something that we want to, make a little tasty feel in there. So that's going to be a process that we call overdubbing in the audio world. Okay, so let's jump into this next part, overdubbing. Okay, you guys, so for this next section, let's figure out how we can put another guitar over the top of the one that we've already just recorded, okay? So in order to do that, we already know that we are going to be using our track status buttons to change from finding a signal in green and playback and all that. First, we want to make sure that we activate this track. So again, like I showed you for track 1, we're going to go up here to the inputs button and we're going to make sure that it's on track 2. So you just touch the screen, it's now on track 2. Now we're going to come down back to our meter track view. And now we are going to go ahead and activate this input. So if you remember, the input activation is orange. And let's go ahead and start bringing volumes up. You also want to make sure to switch your guitar cable over from 1 to 2 over here. And 2 has its own trim knob. So let's go ahead and do that. Now you can go ahead and play your instrument. You can see I've got green coming through there. That's a good sign. Now we can go ahead and start churning up our fader till we hear a little bit of volume. So we can hear my guitar now coming through. All right, so now in order to overdub, we want to come back up to our track status, go into the record mode. Then you are going to go ahead and come over this section and you're going to hit record. Again, you'll see it blinking. Go ahead and hit play and start recording once you hear the music come in. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and hit stop. And then once it stops, you should now have playback here of your overdub. So again, we're going to go to stop and rewind, and it'll take us back to the beginning of the song. Remember, we always want to have this in green when we're listening to playback, and go ahead and hit the play button. You can also adjust your volumes more or less to be able to hear. Again, sometimes lower volumes are always better because by the end of this process, you're going to be churning everything up. So if it's a little bit low, that's okay. And that's basically how you overdub. Okay, you guys, so for this next section, we're going to work on a little bit of EQ and some effects. Now that we've got our two overdub tracks here, we've got our first track with a little bit of rhythm guitar, and then we got our second track with some lead guitar. Let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to apply some EQ. Maybe this rhythm guitar might have a little bit too much lows or something, and we want to add maybe some reverb or something on our lead guitar line. So in order to do that, the first thing we're going to want to do is turn our two channel faders down. It's easier if you just work one track at a time when EQing. That way you're not going to get confused on what you're hearing and what you're listening to. So we're going to turn our tracks down to start. Secondly, you're going to bring your first track, or which track you're going to be working on, up to around the same volume we had, about a -5 or so. Once you get that track where you want it and you got it ready for listening, go ahead and come over to your display screen buttons and go to EQ and phase. And this little screen is going to pop up. So the way that this screen reads is down at the bottom right here, indicates what channels that you are going to be able to see, these 4 boxes, which are your EQ knobs basically. Up at the top right here is just a little menu that shows your meter and making sure that what channel you have has a signal coming into it. And then the next window here next to it just shows you where the lows, highs, mids, and fader frequencies are on this menu.
So it basically just goes left to right. This is obviously 1, these 4 knobs. This is track 2, those 4 knobs, track 3, track 4, and on. The way that you highlight which one you want to change is by just touching. And the way that you actually make the physical knob change is by using your cursor. So if you can see there, that is now being indicated in the window that I am moving those low frequencies. So let's go ahead and play our track, which can be played from this display, and you will see the time start to move up here. So let's say I've got a little bit of lows that I want to take out. I'm going to make sure that I've got that low button pushed, and I'm going to bring down some of those lows, sounding a little bit better. So now let's go ahead and go to these high frequencies, and because we have a little short track here, you can go ahead and stop and just go back and then go ahead and replay your track again. Bring a little bit of highs in, maybe a little bit of mids. Looks like it's missing a little bit of mid section there. And that's starting to sound a little bit better. So now you're going to go back, and now you are able to listen to that mix where it's mixed just a little bit better. So now you're going to go to the next one and bring that one down and bring your next one in, which is your lead guitar line, and go ahead and play that. And now you're going to want to come over to this next section of boxes of 4 knobs here. And again, do the same thing. Probably don't need any lows there. Maybe a little more highs, a little more mids. That's sounding a little bit better. Okay. Now you're going to go ahead and stop and go back to the beginning. And now at this point, you're going to be blending or mixing each one in together so that we can hear them both blend together very nicely. So go ahead and bring them both down and start your track, and slowly start to bring them up. And that's starting to sound pretty good. It sounds not the best, but it sounds better than when we first initially took the tracks. And that's what we're going for, is to just apply a little bit of EQ to what we initially recorded, just to make it sound a little bit more rounder, okay? So now let's jump into trying to do effects. Okay, you guys, now that we've got some EQ onto our tracks, let's go ahead and figure out how to apply some effect. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and navigate over here to our display buttons, and we're going to go to Insert Effect. When you hit that button, this little menu is going to pop up. So with this menu, a couple of things you want to know is at the bottom down here are each of your pages, and these ones are going to signify what effect that you're going to be using, which input. This one gives you 4 different inputs that you can use, which that means like for track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4 can have 4. Each one can have a different effect. This is where you will find those. How do you assign those? Is by going to your little play button here, which shows you this menu. Now this is letting you know what input, what channel, and what effect you are going to be using for what channel, basically. So this first one, we know we're going to be going to channel 1 with the first effect, and it's going to be on this guy. So let's go ahead and highlight off. And over here, you're going to rotate your cursor so everything says 1. And now we should be able to have an effect come to here, whichever one we would like to desire. Okay. Now, we also want to make sure that when we're listening and applying effects to playback, up at the top up here where it says assign, you want to go ahead and hit that and make sure that it's set on your play track and not input. Input would be if we were recording and had an effect going at the same time. But for this, we're just listening and adding an effect to something that's already existing. So you're going to go ahead and hit OK to get out of there. And now we have an effect coming to our first track here. So I've got the second track turned down. Let's go ahead and hit play. Now we're going to go to Insert Effect 1. And you're going to have this. And you can see now we can apply whatever effect. You can hear the different things happening there. So for this, we'll just go with the phaser just to make this easy. And so now that track has phaser on it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go back. And now let's say we want to add some wah onto our second channel. Once again, you are going to go to Insert, and then you are going to go to this guy here where it says 2 and change these to 2s as well, because we are going to be sending now another effect signal to channel 2. So again, go to your play button, go ahead and highlight off, use your cursor over here to go to 2s. Now we know that we're going to be able to apply an effect here. So hit OK. And now you go to insert your effect for 2. And now we'll be able to hear the wah come out on our lead line. So let's hear that. And we can also change that effect. If you see, as you can hear it changing. Okay, and so that's basically the way that that works. That's pretty much the basic function of how the effects work. Obviously, to get back to your metering page, you would just hit your bottom button down here and it'll get you out of that. In order to get back to where the effects are, remember it's just insert effect. It's pretty simple to use if you're good at just practicing using it. So that is basically how you add an effect to a track.
Okay, guys, so that's pretty much the end of this video. I was going to make another little section at the end, like just listening to the overall mix, but I think you guys get the general idea. If you have any other advanced questions about the Korg D16, you're more than welcome to email me at teamuncoordinated@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Like I said, we made this video for a friend of mine who was trying to figure out how to use the Korg D16 and kind of get the functions going. So we figured it was just easier to make a video, put it on our channel, and then that way he can always refer to it like a video manual per se. So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We're going to be putting out some more content coming up on the page, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, you guys have yourself a good day, and peace and love from everybody here at Team Uncoordinated Studios, all right? Catch you guys later.